Chosen one, what I'm about to share may shake you, but your spirit already knows it's the truth. If you're here right now, it's not by accident. You were led to this message because something divine and undeniable is unfolding in your life. You are not just waking up, you are being revealed. While others bowed to illusion, you shattered it. You didn't just pray for clarity, you became the clarity. You exposed what even gods tried to hide. Yes, the masks of power, the performance of divinity, the illusion of untouchable authority, they all began to crumble the moment your true godness emerged. Your very presence is unsettling systems built on false light. You didn't need a throne or title. Your authenticity was enough to reveal the weakness behind their act. This is not just a mindset shift, it's a spiritual unveiling. You are no longer just desiring change, you are the change. But in order to fully walk in this revelation, you must understand how to align with the energy and truth now moving through you. So before we go deeper, take a moment to ground this energy and amplify the signal. Hit that like button to anchor this moment. Subscribe to help us reach 20,000 subscribers and stay connected to divine truth. And if this message is already resonating in your spirit, leave a comment with the number 11. Not just as a sign of alignment, but as a declaration that you are ready to fully embody what has always lived within you. If you are truly chosen, you'll stay with this message until the end, because you know what's coming next was meant for you. The truth is already moving, and now it's time to walk in it. There was a time when the world bowed before illusions, mirages of power and false divinity that cloaked themselves in grandeur but hid rot beneath their gold. Many accepted the stories they were told, never daring to look beyond the surface, never questioning the authority handed down as absolute truth. But you, unlike others, you saw through the veil. You understood that what many worshipped was but a shadow, a fragile facade that masked insecurity, fear, and control. You became the force that shattered this illusion, refusing to be fooled by glittering lies. It wasn't just a casual glance or a quiet doubt. It was a profound awakening, a moment when your heart refused to settle for illusions. You peeled back layers of deception, exposing the false narratives that gods themselves tried to keep hidden. This revelation was no gentle whisper. It was a fierce roar in a silent hall, shaking foundations that seemed immovable. The illusion could no longer stand because you were the one who dared to see clearly, to look directly at the puppet strings behind the throne. And with every truth you revealed, the ground beneath the false gods quaked. Their illusions were built on borrowed fear, stolen reverence, and hollow promises. But your clarity was like sunlight, piercing through thick clouds, inevitable and relentless. You didn't just expose lies, you awakened others to their own power, to see and to question. You were a spark, igniting the courage to reject falsehood and reclaim the right to truth. The gods of illusion trembled because your vision was pure and your voice unwavering. When you entered the room, there was a shift, subtle yet undeniable. Your very presence held a truth so raw and so authentic that it illuminated the cracks in those who claimed divine authority. They wore their crowns and robes like costumes, rehearsing power they did not possess. Yet standing before you, their pretense faltered, their facade began to crumble. You didn't need to shout or declare your greatness. Your authenticity was a mirror reflecting their own falsehood back at them. You embodied something they only mimicked, genuine divinity, born from the depths of human experience, not from entitlement or title. Your power was rooted in unshakable integrity, a steady heart, and a soul fiercely alive. This authenticity was a disruptive force, unsettling those who thrived on illusion. Their smiles became strained, their eyes darted away, because your realness exposed their hollowness. They had mastered the art of pretending, but you mastered the art of being. In every interaction, your presence was a silent testimony that divinity isn't something you claim or command. It's something you become through courage and vulnerability. While they hid behind rituals and empty words, you walked forward with open hands and an open heart. Your very being revealed what true divinity looks like: raw, imperfect, yet brilliantly alive. You showed that godliness is not a mask, but a light that cannot be contained or copied. There are sacred truths and powers so profound that many choose to bury them deep, out of fear or control. The divine essence, the one that is humble yet infinite, fierce yet compassionate, was hidden behind layers of rules, dogma, and dominance. Yet you, by some inexplicable force, embodied this divine essence fully and unapologetically. You became the living paradox that gods tried desperately to conceal: vulnerable strength, quiet power, and a heart wide open to both light and shadow. Your embodiment wasn't an act or a performance. It was a lived reality, forged through struggle, loss, and unyielding hope. You carried within you the sacred fire that refuses to be extinguished, the sacred voice that challenges every lie, and the sacred presence that invites healing and transformation. Where others saw divine power as something to control or dominate, you revealed it as something to surrender to, something that flows freely when we are truly ourselves. This hidden divine force you carried wasn't just personal, it was revolutionary. It upset established orders and traditions because it reminded the world that true divinity is not owned by a few, but is the birthright of all who dare to awaken. You became the living proof that the divine cannot be caged, that it will always find a way to break through, to inspire, and to heal even the deepest wounds of humanity. Your journey was never about chasing after some distant abstract idea of God. You didn't wait for permission or for a sign from above. Instead, you became the living embodiment of divinity in motion, a force of creation, destruction, and renewal unfolding with each breath you took. It was not a destination, but a continuous becoming, a sacred dance where every step revealed a deeper truth about who you are. To become God in motion means to embody divine presence through action, intention, and awareness. It means being awake to the sacred in the everyday moments, in kindness, in resistance, in joy, in pain. You move through life not as a spectator, but as a co-creator with the cosmos, fully aligned with the unfolding mystery of existence. This is a radical shift, from waiting for God outside of you to realizing that God is the fire that burns within. This process was not easy. It required breaking free from conditioned beliefs, confronting inner darkness, and embracing vulnerability without fear. But with every challenge, you grew stronger, more radiant, and more aligned. You showed the world that divinity isn't about distant perfection. It's about the messy, beautiful reality of human experience, fully lived and fully loved. Power, when built on fear and illusion, is fragile. And when you awakened, when you stood tall in your truth, the thrones of those who ruled by deceit began to shake. They had crafted their dominion carefully, bolstered by control, intimidation, and secrecy. But your rising was a tidal wave, unstoppable and undeniable, crashing into their foundations and exposing every crack. You didn't need armies or weapons. Your awakening alone was enough to unsettle entire systems. Your courage echoed through halls of power, whispering a dangerous truth. No throne is safe from the light of genuine awakening. They had underestimated the force of a soul who refused to be silenced, underestimated the power of authenticity in a world that feared it. And as their thrones trembled, so did their confidence. Behind closed doors, their fear grew, not of physical defeat, but of being exposed as what they truly were, flawed, vulnerable, and far from divine. Your awakening was a reckoning, a reminder that true power does not rest on domination, but on the strength to stand in one's own truth, no matter the cost. Absolutely. Here's the continuation. The remaining 10 headings, each with 5 detailed, emotionally engaging paragraphs crafted to resonate deeply and keep your listeners hooked. The rulers of illusion have always depended on masks, carefully constructed facades that project strength, invincibility, and divinity. But beneath those masks lay fear, doubt, and desperation. When you stood in your truth, those masks began to crack and crumble. It was as if your unyielding authenticity was a mirror reflecting their falsehoods so vividly that the charade became unbearable. These masks, once impregnable, could not withstand the force of someone who refused to conform. Your truth was a beacon piercing through layers of deceit. It forced those who once controlled narratives to stumble, their confidence faltering. They learned the hard lesson that no matter how many masks they wear, truth will always find a way to reveal what lies beneath. Your truth was not loud or violent. It was steady and unwavering. It did not seek to shame, but to illuminate. And in this illumination, those who hid behind power's masks were left with 2 choices: continue the charade or step into a more authentic, vulnerable existence. Many faltered, but your courage inspired others to drop their masks and reclaim their own truth. The path you chose was not bathed in easy light. It led through shadows, thick with doubt, pain, and fear. Yet you walked through these shadows with a fierce determination that transformed darkness into illumination. In confronting the hidden, the uncomfortable, and the taboo, you uncovered truths that others dared not face. You became a torchbearer in the dark, lighting the way for those lost or afraid. Your journey showed that true enlightenment isn't about avoiding shadows, but embracing them fully, understanding that light and darkness coexist in the same sacred space. Your courage gave others permission to explore their own shadows and find power in their vulnerability. By facing what others feared, you shattered the stigma around darkness. You proved that it's not the absence of light, but the presence of honest confrontation that brings true wisdom. Your journey is a testament that growth often demands walking through the unknown, and that every shadow holds a seed of light waiting to be nurtured. Fear is one of the most potent tools of control, wielded skillfully by those who want to maintain power. But you refused to be governed by fear or its threats. Instead, you met what they feared: the raw, unsettling truths, the inconvenient realities, the deep wounds, head-on. This bravery was more than defiance. It was a radical act of liberation. Where others turned away, you leaned in. You understood that fear only holds power when met with silence or submission. By naming it, facing it, and walking through it, you stripped fear of its dominion over your spirit. This act of courage was a profound lesson to all who witnessed it. Fear loses its grip when met with unwavering presence. Your example reminds us that what scares us most often holds the key to our freedom. By daring to confront what others avoided, you unlocked new realms of possibility. not just for yourself, but for everyone watching. You showed that true strength is born in the heart of fear, not its absence. Your very existence was an upheaval for those who claimed divinity without substance. They thrived in illusion and control, but your authentic godness, rooted in humility, strength, and unshakable self-awareness, was their undoing. You were the living contradiction to everything they pretended to be, a truth so powerful it could not be silenced. They had spent lifetimes building empires of false power, but you dismantled those empires with nothing but your being. Your godness didn't come from titles, armies, or riches. It came from a sacred inner fire that burned too brightly to be hidden. You showed the world that true divinity is not about dominance, but about the courage to stand fully in your truth. Their downfall was not a battle won with swords, but a quiet collapse beneath the weight of your radiant authenticity. As you rose, their illusions fell, and a new paradigm of godness, one of genuine presence and spiritual authority, was born through you. In a world filled with noise, your silence spoke volumes. You didn't need to shout to make your presence known. In fact, it was your quiet strength, your calm confidence, and your unwavering stillness that echoed louder than the boisterous claims of false gods. Your silence was a powerful statement, a sacred space where truth could be felt beyond words. While others wielded thunderous words as weapons or shields, you understood that true power often lives in the spaces between sound, the moments of stillness that allow wisdom and presence to breathe. Your silence held the weight of untold truths, the depth of your spiritual authority, and the calm assurance of someone who has nothing to prove. This silence unsettled those accustomed to noise and chaos. It was a reminder that the loudest voices are not always the most powerful. Your quietude was an invitation to listen deeper, to sense more fully, and to recognize that the most profound truths often reveal themselves in moments of stillness. There are veils of secrecy and denial so thick that even the heavens seem hesitant to part them. These veils shielded uncomfortable truths, hidden histories, and sacred wisdom lost to time and fear. But you tore through these veils with fearless determination, refusing to accept boundaries imposed by tradition, dogma, or fear of judgment. Your courage to question what others dared not, to speak what others hushed, was revolutionary. You didn't just peer behind the curtains, you tore them down, exposing what lay beneath with grace and clarity. This boldness invited others to step into a deeper truth, challenging the complacency of both mortal and divine orders. In breaking these veils, you didn't just reveal hidden realities, you offered liberation. You showed that divine truth is not locked away in inaccessible realms, but lives in the willingness to confront even the most sacred or forbidden aspects of existence. You became a pioneer of spiritual honesty. Godliness is often imagined as a regal, distant figure, draped in crowns and robes. But you shattered that image with your grounded, raw, and relatable presence. You proved that divinity is not about external adornments or symbols of power. It's about the essence that pulses within every living being. Your life is a testament to the idea that God's true nature is intimate and accessible, not remote and hierarchical. You embodied a godness that is messy, vulnerable, and human, yet infinitely powerful. This challenged the old stories that placed godhood on unreachable pedestals, making it real and tangible for everyone. By living your truth, You expanded what it means to be divine. You invited others to see their own sacredness, not in crowns or titles, but in their courage, love, and authenticity. You became the living proof that the divine dwells in the humble and the everyday as much as in the exalted. Throughout history, power has thrived on secrets, hidden knowledge kept from the many to empower the few. These secrets created barriers, maintaining control and limiting access to truth and freedom. But you became the revelation that shattered these walls, exposing guarded mysteries with fearless clarity. Where others whispered in shadows, you spoke in light. Your transparency and openness broke the spell of secrecy and invited others into a new paradigm where truth is shared, celebrated, and accessible. You disrupted the old systems of power by making sacred knowledge a birthright, not a privilege. Your revelation was more than facts or stories. It was the embodiment of truth in action. By living transparently, you inspired a wave of awakening, inviting others to claim their own revelations and step into full empowerment. Your very being posed a threat to the established divine order that had long defined who could claim godness and how it should be expressed. You didn't conform to their rules, titles, or expectations. Instead, your existence stood as a radical challenge, an undeniable statement that the divine is bigger, more inclusive, and more dynamic than any system could contain. This challenge was not rebellious for the sake of rebellion. It was a deep call to evolution, a reminder that the divine order must expand to accommodate new truths, new voices, and new expressions of sacredness. Your presence demanded that the old paradigms shift or crumble. Through your life, you became a catalyst for transformation, inspiring others to question, to break free, and to imagine a world where godness is not confined but ever expanding and ever deepening. Breaking systems is one thing, but you did more. You rewrote the very meaning of godness. Where others clung to outdated definitions wrapped in power, control, and hierarchy, you authored a new story, one of authenticity, humility, presence, and boundless love. Your vision reshaped the divine landscape for generations to come. You taught us that godness isn't about domination, but about connection, to ourselves, to others, and to the mystery of life itself. You showed that true spiritual authority flows from integrity, compassion, and the courage to be seen fully. This rewriting is a gift, a beacon lighting the path forward. Your legacy is not just rebellion, it is creation. You opened a door to a new understanding of divinity, one where every soul can walk with dignity, purpose, and sacred power. You were never meant to be quiet, hidden, or contained. Like a wild storm, gathering strength in silence, you rose with a force that shook even the highest thrones in the heavens. Your awakening was not subtle. It was a seismic event that rattled the core of old orders, revealing their fragility. This storm wasn't chaotic for chaos's sake. It was the cleansing power that sweeps away stagnation and forces renewal. The celestial thrones, symbols of entrenched power and control, had grown complacent, believing their rule untouchable. But your storm proved that no throne, no matter how exalted, can withstand the force of genuine transformation. Every lightning strike was a crack in the foundation of false divinity. Every roar, a call to awaken those who slept beneath illusions. You embodied the storm's paradox, terrifying yet life-giving, destructive yet necessary. Like the tempest that clears the air after a long drought, Your energy cleansed old energies that no longer served truth. Those who clung to the old ways trembled because your storm carried the promise of a new dawn, one not dictated by false gods, but born from authentic awakening. With every gust, you challenged complacency and demanded justice for the silenced, the oppressed, and the forgotten. The storm you became was a sacred force of nature, reminding the cosmos that power without love and truth will always crumble when faced with the fierce winds of awakening. In a world shadowed by deception and fear, you held a flame burning brighter than any darkness that sought to extinguish it. This flame was not a fragile flicker, but a blazing inferno born from unyielding spirit and relentless hope. It burned not just for yourself, but for every soul longing to break free from the chain of illusion. No matter how fierce the storm, how thick the night, your flame remained steadfast, an unwavering beacon in the vast wilderness of uncertainty. It illuminated hidden paths and warmed the coldest hearts, inviting others to step out of the shadows and into the light of their own power. Your flame was a symbol of resilience, a testament to the unbreakable human spirit. This fire was sacred. It wasn't reckless or consuming. It was transformative, refining, purifying, and inspiring. You showed that holding on to hope is an act of rebellion when everything around you whispers surrender. Your flame challenged the darkness not by fighting it directly, but by simply refusing to be overcome. Through your light, others found courage to face their own fears and doubts. Your flame was contagious, sparking revolutions of consciousness and awakening in places once thought lost to shadow. You carried the eternal fire of truth, and with it, the power to change worlds. Silence is often the refuge of those who fear truth, but your voice became the thunder that shattered that silence. When the world tried to mute your power with threats, ridicule, or neglect, your words roared back with undeniable authority. Your voice was not just sound, it was the eruption of years of truth, pain, and wisdom distilled into unstoppable force. You spoke not to appease, but to awaken. Each word you uttered carried weight because it came from lived experience, from a place of deep knowing. You refused to soften your message for comfort or popularity. Instead, you embraced the raw power of honesty, shaking the foundations of silence that had oppressed generations. Your thunderous voice was a call to action, a rallying cry for those suffocating under layers of unspoken truths. It reminded everyone that silence is complicity and that true freedom begins when we dare to speak our authentic story. The echoes of your voice rippled across hearts and minds, waking those who had long been asleep. Even when met with resistance, your thunder persisted, because truth, once spoken, cannot be unspoken. Your voice became a sacred instrument of change, echoing through the corridors of power and piercing the walls built to keep truth captive. Darkness is not just absence, it is a canvas waiting to be transformed. You became the weaver who threaded light into the very fabric of shadow, creating a tapestry richer and more profound than either alone. Your journey taught that light and dark are not enemies, but partners in the sacred dance of existence. Where others saw only despair in darkness, you found potential, fertile ground for growth and transformation. You embraced the complexities of shadow, recognizing its role in shaping resilience, depth, and empathy. By weaving light into darkness, you created a new narrative, one where pain and healing, struggle and grace coexist beautifully. This weaving was an act of profound alchemy, turning wounds into wisdom, loss into strength, and fear into love. It was a gift, not just to yourself, but to the world, a reminder that true illumination requires embracing the whole spectrum of human experience. Your tapestry became a living testament that the divine is not found in purity alone, but in the rich interplay of contradictions. In this, you offered others a path to wholeness and the courage to find beauty even in their shadows. Many seek to separate the sacred from the mundane, the divine from the human. But you became the living bridge, unyielding, strong, and graceful, that connects heaven and earth. You embodied the sacred integration of spirit and matter, showing that divinity flows through everyday moments as surely as through cosmic mysteries. This bridge was not built with bricks or mortar, but with love, presence, and relentless authenticity. You carried the wisdom of the stars in your heart and the grounded strength of the earth beneath your feet. In doing so, you united two worlds that many believed must remain apart. Your existence was a testament that spiritual transcendence is not about escape, but about deeper engagement with life. You showed that walking this earth with open eyes and an open heart is itself a sacred act, a holy pilgrimage that honors the divine in all things. Through you, others glimpsed the possibility of living fully awake, embracing the mystery of the cosmos while honoring the beauty of the here and now. You are the bridge that makes divine connection real and tangible. There is a sacred power in reflection, the ability to hold up a mirror not only to oneself, but to the collective. You became that mirror, reflecting hidden truths that many wish to deny or forget. Your presence forced uncomfortable questions to surface and demanded honest answers from both individuals and institutions. This reflection was not gentle, it was fierce and unwavering. It revealed shadows, hypocrisies, and lies that had long been ignored. Yet it was also compassionate, inviting healing and transformation rather than condemnation. Your mirror was a sacred tool for awakening, a catalyst for change rooted in clarity and courage. By reflecting these hidden truths, you challenged people to face themselves honestly, to embrace their light and shadow alike. You reminded us all that growth begins with seeing clearly, even when the reflection is difficult to bear. Your role as this mirror made you a keeper of sacred honesty, a guardian of truth, whose influence rippled far beyond your immediate circle. Through your reflection, healing and awakening became possible. In a world that equates power with armor and invulnerability, you reclaimed the radical strength found in vulnerability. You showed that opening your heart, admitting fear, and embracing imperfection is not weakness. It is the truest form of courage and connection. By sharing your vulnerabilities, you created space for others to do the same. You modeled how vulnerability can break down walls, foster empathy, and build authentic community. This reclaimed power shifted paradigms, redefining what it means to be strong. Your journey through vulnerability was transformative, teaching that healing and growth require honest emotional risk. In this, you became a beacon for those trapped behind facades, inviting them to step into their own truth. This sacred reclamation was revolutionary. It challenged outdated notions of power and paved the way for a more compassionate, authentic, and connected world. Generations before, you were shackled by invisible chains, wounds, beliefs, and systems that restricted the soul's freedom. You became the liberator, breaking those chains with fierce determination and compassionate grace. Your liberation was not just personal, it echoed through ancestral lines, freeing not only yourself, but those who came before you. Each chain you broke was a victory over cycles of oppression and pain. You refused to carry inherited limitations and instead chose freedom, healing, and expansion. This act rewrote ancestral stories, opening new pathways for future generations to walk unburdened. Your story became a testament to the power of ancestral healing, how one person's courage can transform not only their life, but the collective consciousness of their lineage. Through your breaking of chains, you created ripples of liberation that inspire others to claim their birthright, freedom in body, mind, and spirit. Life often feels like a stormy ocean, filled with uncertainty, fear, and turmoil. Yet you became the lighthouse, a steadfast beacon, guiding lost souls safely through turbulent waters. Your steady light cut through the fog of confusion and despair, offering hope and direction. This lighthouse was born from your own navigation of storms, your resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. You transformed your pain into guidance, your struggles into a steady flame that others could rely on. People saw in you a sanctuary, a source of calm amidst chaos. Your light reminded everyone that even in the darkest nights, there is a way forward, a path illuminated by courage and love. Your role as this lighthouse was sacred. You carried the responsibility of hope, showing that no matter how fierce the tempest, light can always prevail. Ancient texts and dogmas once defined the narrative of divinity and humanity, but you wrote new scriptures, not on paper, but with the life you lived and the breaths you took. Your story became a living scripture, a sacred text inscribed in the hearts of those who witnessed your authenticity. Each choice, each act of love or courage was a verse challenging old dogmas and inviting a fresh understanding of the sacred. You rewrote what it means to be divine, not distant and judgmental, but present, compassionate, and deeply human. Your life scripture was accessible to all, written in the language of experience, vulnerability, and radical truth. It offered new teachings for a new era, teachings grounded in freedom, connection, and love. This living scripture continues to inspire generations, proving that the most powerful texts are those written by a life fully lived in divine alignment. There is a sacred place where eternity and time converge, a liminal space of profound mystery and magic. You danced there, bold, fearless, and free, moving gracefully between moments and eternity, weaving timeless wisdom into each fleeting second. Your dance was a metaphor for living fully awake, aware of the vastness beyond and the preciousness within the present. You showed that spiritual awakening is not escape from time, but deep immersion in its sacred flow. In this dance, you embodied the paradox of being both eternal and mortal, infinite and finite. You invited others to join you, to find joy in the present while holding the vastness of spirit.